Okay, good afternoon everybody, and thank you for joining this webinar. My name is Chantal Newton and I'm the
Good
Marketing
afternoon.
Manager for the UK Contact Centre Forum. Today's session is around SMS conversations and making proactive customer service work. I'm joined today by Steve Robertson, who is the Sales and Marketing Director at VoiceAge. Steve will be chairing today's session. Trevor Richer, Head of Marketing at VoiceAge, also joins us, and Alistair, who is Head of Credit Operations at Bright House. I just have a few housekeeping points before we begin. This session is being recorded and will be available to review within 24 hours, and notification emails will be sent. If you do have any questions throughout this session, please pop them in the questions box on your GoToWebinar panel, and they will be put to our panelists at the end of the presentation. Thank you again for taking the time to join us today, and I'll now hand you over to Steve Robertson. There we go, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Chantal. Thank you for that. Good afternoon, everybody. I've just looked through the attendees here, so I know some of you I don't, but on behalf of VoiceAge and myself, welcome to this call today. The topic for today is the ABC of SMS communications, conversations, making proactive customer service work. So I'm just going to briefly talk you through the agenda. As Chantal said, if you have any questions as we're going through, please submit them through the text box at the bottom of the GoTo meeting, and we'll endeavour to answer as many of those as we can at the end of the call. If we can't, then we'll clearly follow it up with some email responses as well. So the structure for today is: why is SMS impactful? Effectiveness of SMS, the impact on the consumers, and we're going to be joined by Alistair, who's kindly agreed to come on the call to talk through how innovation with VoiceAge and Bright House has driven significant value into their business. We're also going to be talking about a couple of other of our customers, Vanquis Bank and Home Retail Group, who've also introduced their business through the VoiceAge solutions. So, and there's a big Q&A, as I say, at the end. So, what makes proactive engagement with customers? So this is kind of where we start from, and I think the important words here are more intelligent conversations with more consumers. A bold statement, but it's all about knowing what your
screen share. You actually looked in it.
Sorry, can people see? Oh,
I can't.
she said it would automatically do it.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. Show my screen. There we are. Sorry about that, a slight technical hitch. So, more intelligent conversations with more consumers. What does this really mean? It's a statement that kind of fronts up our whole ethos within the company, and something that we try and include within all our kind of innovation and product development. But it is a bold statement, but it's all about knowing your customer and understanding their behaviour. So what is proactive customer service? A recent report from Forrester Research was titled "The Future of Customer Service." They found that in the age, as they describe it, of the customer, executives don't decide how customer-centric their operations are, customers do. If we all think back probably over the last 5 years, that's kind of quite a shift in terms of where the experience is being driven from. So as a result of this, if you want to deliver customer service excellence, there are a few things that you have to keep an eye on. The fact that future best brands will be those able to anticipate customer behaviour through active insight and smart active use of data is going to become pivotal to the success of businesses moving forward. This means that organisations, many of you on the call today, are going to have to find ways to anticipate what, when, where and how for your customers and how they're going to interact with your business. You'll need to explore kind of sophisticated uses of engagement, such as connecting the best company resource to the customer at the right moment. And also you need to take learnings from these proactive engagements to improve performance moving forward, and also importantly to predict the future of the customer. in essence, call deflection, getting engagement with the customer before they contact you. So it's all about transforming the customer experience. Just a little bit about VoiceAge. We were established in 2003. We provide a cloud-based omni-channel solution that's easy to use, quick to deploy, and is managed through a web-based intuitive user interface. Basically a single pane of glass for you to manage your services and interactions. There's a combination of many of these things that we provide through from very simple SMS to media-rich visual touch messaging, and we're going to touch on some in a moment. Fundamentals here, it's all about reducing transactional costs, driving proactive engagement through these solutions, and you'll see, I think from the Vanquis case study certainly, and from the other two case studies, it's all reducing transactional costs to pennies rather than to pounds. So why is SMS so impactful? We're going to talk about where we are today, where's the market going, and why things are changing. So some interesting kind of facts here. 4 billion SMS users worldwide. I think the number of SMSs that were sent globally last year was 8.1 trillion. And you can see from here that SMS is a kind of an immediate response. I don't know about yourselves, but if my phone bleeps and I know that it's in a different way to an email, I'll go to my phone and I'll pick up the SMS and I'll read it. If it's an email, I kind of tend to leave it until a time that's convenient. So on here, and 50% of their customers were not contactable through traditional methods. So Vanquis Bank is a leading credit card company. It's not prime lending, and they had 30 agents who were given a 10,000 debtor list every day, and the statistics they were getting on that were 40% right party contact. They were getting 200 promises to pay, of which 65% were being fulfilled. They came to VoiceAge and said, can you have a look to see how we can improve these metrics and how we can improve the performance? So in a nutshell, we provided them with a combination of interactive voice messaging, which is basically sending a voice message and giving the customer to that. We also did through SMS prompts, but also through two-way. So SMS conversations is an area where you can interact with the customer as you would on a web chat, but it's not real time, and it enables contact centres to deal with possibly 15 plus calls, SMS calls at one time, compared to maybe 3 to 4 web-based chat sessions. So what did this deliver for Vanquis Bank? The first thing is that they managed to reduce the number of agents from 30 to 3, which is quite a staggering figure. They managed to they managed to increase right party contact by 200%. They managed to get promises to pay were very much at the same level, but the people that actually paid rose from 65 to 75%. The comment at the time from Vanquis Bank is that the performance was actually jaw-dropping. Other people that they kind of implemented technologies with, they found they kind of hindered sometimes what they were trying to achieve, but the VoiceAge solution delivered exactly what it said it was going to do. So clearly, SMS, voice have a big part to play now in part of the digital channel strategy for organisations. So where's the market going? So given kind of the background here, 61% of all contact centres will offer SMS this year. I think one of the kind of interesting things is around some research that was done by Open Market, and it was done around millennials. I looked up the definition of millennial, and I was completely wrong. Its definition is person reaching young adulthood in 2000, so my estimations it's probably the 30 to 35-year-olds at the moment. 72% of millennials text 10 times or more per day, 83 open messages within 90 seconds. So it's the immediacy of SMS that makes it compelling. And 60% of these millennials that were surveyed, and I think the survey was about 5,000, preferred two-way text because it was convenient and easy to use, and it can be largely automated. However, only each one of them only received up to 5 SMSs from business per week, but 90% were owned. So the other question is kind of, where does social media? Now we have the traditional channels into a contact centre, and I think at the moment there are about 6 that can be used. Social media kind of brings a whole new element to how contact centres operate. We're certainly, as a business, looking at how social media can be introduced into a channel within our solution. But there are big questions of things like WhatsApp, in terms of how it would be integrated, would it be effective, and would people actually want to have business conversations over WhatsApp, which is primarily a person-to-person, friends-to-family type tool. As always, if anybody has ideas on these types of things, we'd love to share those. Love you to share those with us. So it's important, I think, also to consider the demographics of your customer base. Clearly, millennials and those coming through those stages now prefer to use SMS. 10% of the UK still doesn't have a mobile phone, so you need to bear those things in mind. So why are things changing? The mobile phone is personal to consumers. It's not being commercialised in the same way as SMS, and we call it wear out. Certain channels are kind of getting old. People are starting to prefer the more immediate personal kinds of channel, and it certainly lowers the transactional cost. So budgetary pressure is also having a big impact. Boards are expecting people to do more for less. And there's so much data available. What do you do with the data? There was an event we attended yesterday, and one of the comments I kind of liked from it, they said we're data rich but information poor, and I think that's kind of considered for many businesses. VoiceAge believe that we probably, out of the 81 million mobile users in the UK, have probably interacted with 75% of those within the last 18 months. So clearly data is important. One of the things that we're looking at the moment is best time to contact. We have all of this information, and we know when's the best time to contact a very large proportion of the UK population. So it's something that we're kind of putting together. So that's starting to make active use on a large scale. So organisations need to do better at anticipating what the customer will do. You can't be waiting for them to come to you. The way you build your customer engagement has been using kind of reactive approach. We need to be proactive and preemptive. So we need to remodel the customer experience via technology. So why is SMS changing things? What I'd like to do is kind of talk through a little bit of a customer journey. This is a purchase of a flat pack furniture, and also probably IKEA, somebody to come and put it together for you. So the journey is customer purchased the flat pack furniture, they purchased the third-party service, they attempt to deliver to the customer, but the customer wasn't asked at the point of sale whether there was any parking or whether they lived in a flat. So the store phones the customer to reschedule. The store doesn't connect with customer before the assembly date, so the assembler turns up, no furniture, and the customer's going to be charged for an abortive visit. So how could proactive engagement change this model and reduce the cost to the business? So the customer buys the flat pack and the third-party assembly. the SMS is sent immediately to advise of delivery and ask if there are any instructions for delivery. So the customer replies with the parking instructions. The delivery is confirmed with the assembler, and customer reminded of the appointment and gives parking information. So how does that look? So the result of that, being proactive, is that the SMS has been exploited across the customer journey, across 3 different parties. That's the supplier, the contractor, and the end user. There was no need for any expensive application development or integration into back-end systems to be able to do this. The customer is informed at every step of the journey, and there was no time wasted for the assembler. So if you look at the bigger picture, a minimum of 4 calls were avoided by being proactive, saved the customer, the company over £14 in costs, and it took the transactional cost down to less than 40p. So by proactive engagement here, it's a win-win for everybody in the trail. So what do customers say? Let's have a talk through. Customers like it, and the customer journey. We're going to talk about whether it should be tactical or strategic and how it's kind of mixed together. So do customers like it? Overham found that over 76% of customers will stop using a brand after experiencing a bad purchasing decision. Regardless of which channel, if they don't have a good experience, then you're going to probably lose a customer. But I think there are some things here that you really need to kind of consider. It's the compliance. It must be permissions based. There are very heavy penalties for organisations that don't do that. And there's an example here at Help Direct, got fined £200,000 in the UK last year for not having permissions based or not being able to prove that they were permissions based interactions. The US has now introduced mandatory SMS alerts for their customers to sign up to. So there's a lot of rules and regulations, and again, we can help you, guide you through any of those rules. Please contact us if you have any questions around that. But fundamentally, customers, consumers prefer services that will help them and are easy to use. So please bear that in mind if you're considering this type of strategy. So, tactical or strategic? It could be as simple as sending a text asking for a keyword response. One company we're talking to at the moment has to comply with new regulations on increasing the limit on their credit cards. The customer, the law now requires that rather than just telling you can have an increase on your credit card and doing it, the customer has to agree to any changes, and therefore they're going to send the customer a simple outbound SMS asking them to whether they would like the increase or not, and they will respond with a simple yes or no with the regulations. The advantage of a tactical approach is that you can get things going quickly. Sometimes tactical can present big wins for a business, and it's something that you can do now. The more strategic approach requires you to kind of reshape the whole of your experience across multiple channels, and that takes longer and becomes more complicated. One of the things that we've done here at VoiceAge is deliberately try to keep things very simple for customers. So, we can deploy complex solutions within weeks rather than months or longer, and we do encourage customers to be able to self-serve themselves on our platform. So tactical solutions can be delivered quite quickly, and as I say, they can be high value to a business. So let's talk about some user cases, because it's not just about sending SMS or voice. We provide the intelligence above that layer. So let's talk about Home Retail Group, who's a leading merchandise retail. So they were recently purchased by Sainsbury Group, but they include Argos, Homebase, and Habitat. The group's handles about 10 million inbound calls a year and 2 million orders, and employs 18 staff across the UK. Agents in our call centre would confirm order dates and times. They were only achieving about 30% success rate in getting through to people. We implemented a solution using our services to automate customer contact communication by sending a combination of text messages and pre-recorded voice messages. So Home Retail Group was achieving the same number of customer contacts per day as they did through their dialer system. Now they have a significantly higher rate and reduced the amount of agents' time that is tied up in delivery contact activities. And now 60% of all of their contacts are being made by SMS. Mark Fox, real-time manager of Home Retail Group, said the huge benefit is that we can proactively contact customers en masse without impacting the front line. The major reason we chose Voice Age in particular is because of the ability to set up campaigns on our own. So that's kind of where proactive contact can be really successful. So there are a number of areas. I know many of our customers use it for things like Net Promoter Score, after-call surveys, media-rich kind of content, can capture a variety of different pieces of customer information and can drive an output depending on their input. So it's the innovation and creativity that you have with this. So I think I'm on 20 minutes now. So I'd like to say a big thank you for Alistair from Bright House, who's with us here in London, and he's going to talk you through how innovation with Voice Age has delivered significant benefit to Bright House after only 6 months. So Alistair, shall I?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alistair Skew, Head of Credit Operations in Bright House, and I'd like to talk to you today about SmartPay, our facility to allow customers to pay by SMS. So perhaps I could just talk to you a wee bit, for those of you who may not know much about Bright House. We're a rent-to-own organisation. If you think, those of you who may be old enough to remember the radio rental model that was around from about the 1950s in the UK, where televisions and latterly video equipment was rented, we do the same thing but with a wider range of products on a hire purchase agreement where customers will pay weekly for 3 years for the product. So we have 312 stores across the UK, 3,000 staff, and more importantly 275,000 customers. So as a weekly payment store, one of our particular challenges is that customers hopefully will pay every week. Facilitating that weekly payment was quite a drain in our business. So we were receiving 50,000 telephone calls a week where customers were already remote from our stores and wished to use their debit card to be able to make payment. It seemed to us that the solution was in their hand. In one hand, they typically had a mobile phone. In the other hand, they had their debit card. We had to try and think of a quick and simple way to be able to put them together. We wanted to make it easy. We wanted to make it easily adoptable. And that would then release staff from having to go through a very, very transactional experience of processing a payment. Not only was it transactional for our colleagues, it was also very transactional for our customers. So having to do something every week, it was a grind for them. So what did we come up with? We came up with a Voice Age solution where embedded web link to a customer each week. Customer clicks on that web link that contains the unique information they need on their account. They then enter their debit card details and make their payment. So very quick, very simple, very easy to deploy, and we were up and running from original conversation to deployment within 6 weeks. That cost us, there were no CapEx expenditure at the Voice Age end. It was all transactional cost, but our internal costs were less than £2,000. So it was a very quick and a very easy and a very simplistic way. There was reference earlier on between strategic deployment. This was not a strategic deployment. This was a tactical solution. So in many other solutions, you would maybe have the ability to be able to tap into your account or an app that would do that. Perhaps in time we might get to that, but the fact that we were able to have an alternative for customers that we've now been running for 18 months, if we were still trying to develop that more strategic solution, I suspect we would still be developing it. So it allowed us to be up and running very early. Can I just reiterate though what it is that we do in this particular instance, because many of you may find an alternative solution, or you may use this to fix another problem. This was presented to us initially by VoiceAge as a sales opportunity, drop basket sort of idea. Customers been on our website, looked at a television and not proceeded. And the idea was to send them an SMS with the web link showing the television that they may have decided to buy. We stole that idea, to be frank, and converted it into a payment solution. But if there's anything where you wanted to send a unique web link that may take a customer to a web page, take advantage of the responsiveness that Steve talked about earlier on that the SMS channel gives you, but combine that with the data capture opportunity or transactional opportunity that you get from a website, then I think that there are many, many other uses that I'm sure you could find that this particular technology helps you with. So what were the benefits to us? Very cheap. By comparison to being able to take a telephone call or other routes to market, it's measured in pence. So particularly successful for us. We had a very, very quick uptake. So customers, 50,000 people who were phoning us every week, 40% of those customers were using the service within 3 months. So that was particularly useful, and we've reached 65% within 6 months. Considering that although there was 50,000 customers used to telephone us, only 85% of our customers have got access to a smartphone, you can see that we've got a big chunk of the available audience there. Feedback from customers, they love it. Interestingly, you used to have to pay your Bright House account when a store was open between 9 and 5:30. Within 6 weeks, 25% of our payments were made outside of store hours. We had people paying us midnight Christmas Eve. So we were astounded that when you give people the opportunity, they'll pay in a variety of ways, but the range of times has been quite illuminating. The big benefit in store, being a Bright House customer has become that bit less transactional. So when the conversation happens between a colleague and a customer, it's about how we can help serve the customer rather than the very transactional element of simply processing a payment. Okay.
So thank you, Alistair. Very insightful. Evidence of where innovation and being proactive with customers really does work. So we're kind of coming up to the 30 minutes. So we've got 10 minutes for some questions. So I'm going to hand you over to Trevor Richer, who's going to field the questions. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. Apologies about the slides. We'll send those out after the webinar. For some reason, our technology is not quite doing what it should be today. If you have questions, please put them in the questions box. I've got a couple here, maybe one for Alistair here, which is the importance of personalisation. If you can comment on that.
We found it easier to put the personalisation onto the web page the customer clicks through to, rather than embedding in the SMS itself.
Okay.
Quite fortunate, our brand name fits very nicely into the, I think, 11 characters that you can put as the header, right. So the customers know what it is and they know what it's for. Yeah. But we have added the personalisation to the landing page that the customer goes. So any personal information is embedded in the link and the customer sees it when they get to that page. Our view was that it's probably better displayed. You get more control over font and size and style and content than you would if you included it in the SMS.
How do you link a personalised web page then? How does that work?
So that information is in the web link. So whatever we want to personalise in the web link, be it the customer's name, address, their store, the product information, we can include that in the data that we send to VoiceAge, and VoiceAge include that. So when the customer clicks through, it's all there.
Okay.
And in such a way that it doesn't take up space in the SMS, and until the customer goes to that website, it's secure.
So it's a personal web link.
Yes.
Right. What about from your point of view, Steve, in terms of talking to some of the other customers we have about personalisation?
Yeah, I mean, it's key. As we said earlier in the presentation, that that one of the great things about SMS is actually a personal medium. Customers use it in a variety of ways. Certainly, when you receive a visual text message, it's got that has got that media-rich content, so it can be personalised. We can even put things like videos in the bottom to help customers, maybe if it's a direct debit query, to help them guide them through the process. So it really depends on what you're trying to achieve, the particular application. It varies from business to business.
Thanks, Steve. There's another interesting question here. Are there any glaringly obvious security risks for the customer?
It all depends what you're proposing to give them. So our customers already know the weekly payment that they're making, so it's a facilitation thing. That's not something they have to be reminded of. So we just use that. It's embedded in the link, but it's not obvious. So if the link fell into other hands, nobody else would know. We also felt that we've stepped back from putting anything that would have required direct access to the customer's account. So it's all for people to consider the route they make. I'd be less worried if I was sending a sales-based embedded link. So if I was referring to the fact that you came, you had a look at our website, you considered buying a TV, is there anything we can help you on, or send somebody a video link to that particular product, I'd be less concerned than if it was account-based information for information security reasons.
Right. Okay. And Steve, do you have a view on security?
Yeah, sure. We are fully PCI compliant on our platform, which but we don't actually handle customer credit card, debit card information. We provide a link for them to be able to either access the payment provider site themselves, so they can fill in their credit card details,
right,
or can put them through to a customer's secure web page, so they can make that payment as well.
Okay.
There is another alternative, which is all around tokenization, which is kind of a more complex process, but it means they don't have to kind of type it because it's a transferable token. So there's various ways of doing it. The easiest way of doing it is pointing something towards a web gate or a customer site.
Can you say a little bit more about tokenization, just in case people aren't aware of what that is?
Yeah, basically tokenization really removes the customer card information. It takes it outside of the customer. So the middle 6 digits of, for example, your bank card would be tokenized, and the token would be tokenized, and then when you go onto the mobile phone, press the button, it looks at the token, doesn't know any of the credit card information, but validates that that's the actual transaction.
Right. Okay.
And it can be backed up with security questions like date of birth and things like that.
Right. Thanks for that. One more question. What's the importance of contacting people at different times of the day?
We've not gone down that particular route with this message on the basis it's a facilitation message,
right,
in many respects. Albeit every fibre of my being tells me there will be more success if you were to use Insight. So if we were to tie when we would send the message to when people open it, I'm absolutely convinced that you'll get a better uplift. It's a bit different for us. We send the message to customers on a Monday morning that they can use at any point between then and Saturday evening.
Right.
So we've actually found that customer knowing that it is always there to refer to has been more of a comfort than saying, do you know what, this particular type of customer is more likely to open this message at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday. Let's try and achieve that. But I'm absolutely convinced there'll be some, for other types of messages, then there would be some real value around that area.
Okay.
It depends on the type of transaction. So, for example, we spoke a little earlier about the flat pack and the delivery man. Clearly, you want real-time messaging to go out there. So that kind of needs to be done. So no kind of thought around whether this is the right time or not. If you're looking at things like outbound marketing, then that's probably more important to understand when you can get hold of a customer, because they're more likely to engage and buy from you, which is where our best time to contact, which I alluded to earlier on in the call, plays a part. You don't want to send, if I know that sent you 10 messages before, but you never answer them before 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but you always answer something between 6 and 7 o'clock in the evening, then it saves a lot of time. It's very focused.
Okay. One more question I think we'll do. How quickly can a system be embedded in an organisation? I mean, Alistair, you said we went for very much a tactical solution, so I guess it wasn't kind of embedding the system as such, or maybe, I don't know. It'd be interesting to know exactly the approach you took.
No, it was very simple process. There was the bigger challenge that we had, and it was a nice challenge to have, is that at the end of this fantastic customer journey that customers loved, is we had a pile of payments that we used to key manually that now appeared electronically.
Right.
So our integration cost was really building that process to be able to take that file of payments and drip them real time back into our system. We did batch loads before, and we had handheld keyed information before, but we'd never had we just handballed that exercise anyway. Theory, mentioned earlier on, it cost us less than £2,000. We simply did an extract. The guys at VoiceAge did everything else. So it was a very quick and easy thing for us to get deployed. So if anyone was thinking about testing it, you can. This is one of the rare occasions that you can probably test for virtually free, I would have thought. Although I don't want to panic either of you two. But it's a very, very cheap thing. You will most of the people collecting core data from their system and allowing these messages to be deployed, very easy to check. And although we were up and running very quickly, it was fine-tuned in the early days to make sure it was fit for purpose.
And what do you see elsewhere, Steve?
Well, it's the simplicity of things. I've worked in the contact centre business for a long time, as you have, Trevor, probably longer than I. But when you start talking about integration, suddenly you're looking at high cost, long project length, complexity. We've deliberately designed the VoiceAge platform to be easy to use. Yes, we can integrate. We do have an API, but again, that integration process is probably 10 to 20 days if you really want to kind of integrate with a back-end CRM system or some type of system. But it's a self-service platform, so you can send an SMS just with the first name, last name, and a phone number, and then you can build a lot of complexity around it. So we help a number of our customers on complex campaigns like White House, but we also encourage customers to be self-sufficient on it. The user interface is easy to use, and you can import it from an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
So simplicity, that's what we're trying to keep.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Okay, I think we'll wrap up there now. I'll hand back to Chantal. So Chantal, are you with us?
I am, yes, thank you. Brilliant session, guys. Thank you so much. We do have some questions that we didn't get round to, but I will make sure that these are answered for you in follow-up emails. I'll also provide the links to the recording of this session, and as Trevor said, I sincerely apologise for the issue that we had with the slides. We were trying to rectify it, but the GoToWebinar panel wasn't reacting to the commands that we were giving it. So thank you very much for everybody for joining us today, taking time out of your schedules to join us. Thank you to the guys from VoiceAge, to Trevor, to Steve, and thank you very much to Alistair for giving us an insight into the product. We hope you did enjoy the session. Any further questions, I've provided Steve's email address if you'd like to email him. Just check your chat box. I have emailed it to everybody, and they can be contacted there. Thank you again, and we look forward to welcoming you again on the next webinar. Thank you, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thanks.
Alistair.